Hello, it's April Ulmer with Project Further, and we are in sunny Tampa, Florida at the DPL Eastern Regional Showcase with Mr. Barry Ritson, the president of the DPL. How are you today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. We're so excited. He's agreed to talk to us all about the DPL. And so before we get started, why don't you just tell us a little bit about your background? Tell us who you are.
A little bit about me. Been in the United States for 24 years now.
Okay.
Originally from Newcastle, England. Came here to play soccer.
Wow.
So all the way from that first experience opportunity here, that was why I'm here.
Wow.
Started coaching 21 years ago. Currently the CEO of a club in California called LA Surf.
Right, we know.
And started the DPL out of necessity. I didn't wake up one morning with my busy life and decide to put together a national league with 137 clubs in it. So 7 years ago we started the league.
Tell us a little bit about that history. Like, what led you to decide, when you say out of necessity, tell us what that means.
I think the US as a country is growing in the sport, and US soccer took a really important decision to give young female athletes the same opportunity that young boys had by building the US Soccer Development Academy. And with that came tremendous responsibility for the clubs and the coaches, but also for the players. And the standards of the league at the time dictated that these kids had to basically forego high school soccer, which from a cultural standpoint and from a general pride of school standpoint was difficult. It also meant that they had to train 4 nights a week. And it restricted the number of games for good reason, to have a balance between how many training sessions a player was taking in and how many games they were doing. Basically to manage their load and restrict injuries. Well, that catered to probably the top 5% of competitive soccer players. And we felt really early that there were maybe players that weren't quite ready for that level or needed to grow into that level, that needed something better than what was already there, but not quite so restrictive in terms of the rules and the regulations of the DA. So we built a DPL.
Wonderful, wonderful. And so this is an incredible event, let me just say. Tons of teams, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But my daughter London is here guest playing with Westchester Rush. She's very excited about that. She's played with them before. And she loves it because it provides the opportunity for her to hear the voice of a different coach and to play with different girls. And even in our pod, we talk about the value of that, the value of guest playing, the value of just being in an environment like this where development is front and center, right? And so can you talk to us a little bit about sort of piggybacking on what you said, the importance of development when it comes to girls in soccer and the role of the DPL in that?
For us, the mission of the DPL is to be memorable and purposeful. Right? So when we take memorable first, it's creating opportunities and working with the clubs who are the drivers of the development program for those players, and coming up with ways to be really specific in what the experience looks like. A player should come to these events and have a really good time. Right. It should be fun. And competing should be fun. So when we look at the word purposeful, we want to make sure that the balance of competition is appropriate. And we also want to make sure that they're not playing the same teams they always play. And to your point, the roster rules within our league, and specifically for these type of events, are super wide and flexible. So it gives an opportunity for a player from the South that now plays in Dallas to guest play with a team in the Northeast, right? And to have that experience, we think is tremendously valuable. We give clubs the flexibility to put up to 30 players on a roster. So when you think, okay, we got to get players that are fit, healthy, and able, now it's about, okay, do they have the time? Do they have the resources to participate and maybe travel into these events? And if they don't, how can we help the club create that pathway for that individual player that may not have this opportunity in the backyard?
Right.
And we take pride in that creation of those experiences for the individual player and then the teams, because the teams want to come and compete and win. And winning's okay.
Of course, winning's fine.
But also as a league, just to make sure that everybody finds their level.
Right. That's incredible. And speaking of that type of exposure, I mean, there are lots of college scouts here too, we've noticed, which is great. For kids who, girls who want to play at that highest level, right? And so once again, being in this environment that is so supportive and that is so fun, and giving girls this exposure, not just to soccer in general, but different clubs and this sort of exciting type of environment, and to have college coaches here who are able to see them in this environment, it's just sort of icing on the cake. So I think that's amazing as well.
It's awesome. I mean, we held a college ID camp the night before, and we had 140 kids. That came out early, by the way.
Wow, yeah.
It's basically still in their holiday break. Came out early. We got 11 college coaches that came to evaluate the players before the event, and many of the college coaches have stayed and have started to track those individual players. And this weekend's tough. It's tough because it's family. It's right after New Year. Kids are going back to school. But for the college coaches, it's a really good window, because for the Division 2s and Division 3s, this gives them a really good glimpse of what could be next.
Right.
And their seasons are finished. And now it's like, okay, they've took stock of what they need, the type of player that they would be looking for.
Right.
And this is the first event of the year.
Yeah.
So we kind of get in first, get in early. They start the recruiting period with us. And it's Florida in January, and it's sunshine, and
Right.
it's awesome.
What's not to love? Right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
And the level of play here has just been amazing. We got here early. My daughter doesn't play till a little bit later, but she wanted to come and watch some other teams play. The level of play has been great, just watching the girls. I mean, their intensity is there,
Yep.
lots of good skill. So we've been really impressed, too, with the teams that are here. So kudos to you and the DPL for sure.
We want games that are competitive, right? And that goes for the top teams playing against each other all the way down the brackets. One thing that we did was we implemented a super group where clubs basically said, hey, my team's really good. We'd like to play other really good teams. Can we play in your quote-unquote top bracket? Which is amazing.
Yeah.
And kids should want to compete. Then we thought, okay, well, if this is quote-unquote the best teams, why not give them something additional to play for?
Right.
So now in a showcase like this, the top team in that super group will fight for a trophy, which is important.
Right.
But it also gives them a berth at internationals. So all the way in January, you're going to Minneapolis in June. So you can do your fundraising, you can get your flights organized.
Right.
So there's another carrot, which, to your point, gives that little bit more edge
Right.
in terms of the competitive, which college coaches want to see.
Of course.
Right. So we want to drive that competitive nature.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, like I said, just kudos to you and the DPL. I mean, you're amazing, and we appreciate all the hard work that you're doing to provide a pathway for these girls just to play at the highest level. So thank you, and thank you so much for taking the time to talk.
You're
to us.
welcome.
Yeah,
Anytime.
it's been a
I
pleasure.
appreciate you guys.
Absolutely.
Thank you, and good luck
so
to your
much.
young one.
Thank you so much.